What's happening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages? It's your hostess with the mostest. It's PKR, Pastor Keenan Riley, and we are here on the second episode of People Suck, Love 'Em Anyways for 2025.
I was really confused where you're going.
I
with the
know.
second
I
episode.
seen
Oh,
you.
that's
I
okay.
seen you, man. We're back to
Second
back.
episode.
Back to
Actually,
back.
I want to say it was. I should have paid more attention, but it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I want to say it was today. Might have been yesterday. Was our first or second episode. Actually, it was our second episode.
It kind of makes me tear up a little bit.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie about it.
I think it was it was yesterday. So it was January 11th. It was our second episode.
Think about how much crap's popped off in the last in the last 2.5 years, man. Yeah.
Like
Think about how many curveballs, how many fires,
fires.
how many dumpsters.
That's a bad joke. If you're listening in California,
Oh.
we're sorry.
I need to choose my words better.
It's like Joe
sometimes,
Biden over
man.
here. Fire away.
I know. I seen that clip, man, and I was like,
Jesus.
wow. I was like, somebody did he say that on his own? Did somebody write that in a speech and thought it would be
No pun
funny?
intended. Oh,
Yeah, like it was pretty tough. It's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty crazy. 2.5 years. I told Nick, I said, of course, we always tell the story that we always talk, and talking usually leads to like conversation of like an hour and a half before we do the podcast.
Yeah,
then
we started this conversation about 45 minutes ago.
Then we do the podcast for another hour. So we really do like a Rogan-esque type podcast. I feel like by the time we're done,
We're
but
just not sitting across from each other.
this is true. But what we were talking about before we started taping, I said, let's just hit the tape button and talk about it. The record button, and talk about it. But we were talking about just financial freedom to a certain extent. But also, like, I had the question of how do you accomplish the lifestyle that you want if it's not a rich and famous lifestyle or something like that, but it's just this. Like what we were talking about, like if you want to buy a video game for $70 and not beating yourself up over it, or if you want to go do something fun with the family and you're like, God, I don't know if I have that in the expense range or whatever this month to do it. Like, where do you get to? Like, where do you get to in life where you balance out? Because we talk about, well, you may not always be here, and then there's regret, and then there's remorse, and all this good stuff. So it's like, where do you get to in your life where you're going, you know what, today I am going to do this, and I'll worry about the consequences later. Or to some people, that's very reckless, and you're making bad choices. And like you were saying about Dave, you just got to hate the life that you're in right now.
You have to hate your life so you can love your life
later.
Yeah,
and it's like, so you hate life now, but it's like, but we're not guaranteed of later, But then people will come back and say, well, I guarantee you, though, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same thing later. So it's like, what do you do? What do you do in that moment?
Well, my name is Dave Ramsey. No, I don't know. But it's funny because, like, I was actually having this conversation, I think it was last week, with mother-in-law when we had our Saturday service. I was talking about, how, like, there's so many things that, because everybody's New Year's resolutions, new goals, all this sort of stuff, and I was like, I have a hard time with it sometimes. Like, I am a fairly goal-oriented person. Wasn't last year, failed those miserably, but for the most part, yeah, I did gain 10 pounds. I am fat now. I'm just totally kidding. But I think it's it's funny because I was having that conversation. We were talking about at what point, like, do you try to enjoy the life you have now, versus trying to make sure you last long. And this is I think the thought process was, like, I can sit here and I can enjoy fast food or whatever else, I can drink sodas, I can do these things and enjoy, the life now, or I can, torture myself and eat a bunch of vegetables and, try to eat healthier and exercise and run and hike and do all these things, hoping that I'll live a little bit longer when I could die tomorrow.
I was going to say, I know the stat lines, and I know the stat lines say, of course, the better care that you take of yourself, the longer or the longevity of your life is supposed to be better. I get that. But like you said, that doesn't account for somebody wrecking. It doesn't account for somebody having these just these horrible accidents or whatever the case may be. That is going to offset all of the work that you put in. And so when that happens, it's like, did you do it all for naught? And then, but some people are going to be like, oh, but think of all the stuff that you had before, or think about how you were disciplined and blah blah blah. And it's like the silver lining people basically. But it's like, man, I don't know. It's like, do you think those people are, I know they're dead, but do you think, like, if you could talk to them, if you could communicate with them right now, do you think that they would go back and tell you, live your life.
Eat the cheeseburger.
Eat the cheeseburger, bro. Do it. Enjoy it. Have a good time. Like, do you
Mhm.
think that they would be like that? Do you think that they would be like, take risks, do this, do that, enjoy it?
Mhm.
Like, who cares about this? Who cares about that? Like, just live it, because I do wish that I had more time, or I do wish that I had this, that. Like, as a pastor, as a preacher, I've said this before. I've sat on a lot of people's deathbeds with them, and listened to their regrets about life and about how they wish they had this and that and the other. And it's like everybody always wishes for more. Like, it
Mhm.
puts it into perspective as to how they would have done things different. And I don't know if there's, I mean, maybe there's a right answer to it, but I just don't know how you get there, I guess,
Mhm.
is my question. It's like, where do you really plan, but where do you really like throw caution to the wind at the same
Mhm.
time, and enjoy life, but without running it into a ditch and being
Risky,
completely like upside down,
daredevilly,
you know?
crazy. I think it's like in my head, I'm just thinking it's like risk with parameters. Like you have to like there's a certain sense of freedom and enjoyment you have to have in life, but also using wisdom to make sure it's like if you absolutely can't I'm not saying go out take a loan out that you can't afford to pay back and end up losing your house, losing everything you have, like that's stupid. I think there's a point where it's like
Welcome to 35% of
right,
America.
I know, right. But I think it's that don't I guess where you can be such a penny pincher, you can be such a health nut, you can be such a whatever else, that you drain the enjoyment out of life, and so you don't enjoy life, you don't enjoy the moments that you're in, you don't enjoy what you have or what you could have, because you are so busy, so worried, so anxious about perfecting a budget, perfecting a savings account, perfecting your body or your health or all these sorts of things. I think there's a point where you can be obsessive with it.
Mm.
As I was making the joke, like Dave Ramsey talks about, you have to hate your life now to love your life later, or something like that. That's not a direct quote, but but I mean, it's kind of what he says is, you have to really, he's like, once you're trying to get out of debt, you have to basically eat off beans and ramen for 20 years until you pay off your debt, and then you can enjoy life.
Right.
And I'm like, that's kind of a sad existence in my mind because, like I said, I could, I've made the comment to Keenan that it's very hard for me sometimes to see past like this year. Like to me, where somebody can make those 5, 10, 15, 20 year plans, like it's hard for me to envision that far out in my life. And it's like to
Well,
me,
you don't know what life is going to throw at you.
yeah.
I feel like it's the biggest thing. So, if your plan is a 10-year plan, and year two, you're like,
Hmm.
looks like it could be 12, maybe 15. It's like, well, I don't know. I mean, is it going to be 12 or 15? It could be 5. I mean,
Hmm.
or you could be enjoying it right now. I mean, I don't know. But to me, like for you, what you were talking about, like just long term planning and stuff, I was talking about like just before we started taping this, like making choices now that you don't just go home and beat yourself up over.
Hmm.
And I know we have people in other countries that are listening to this and like, man, you think y'all have got it
Hmm.
bad. You're fussing about this, that, and the other. But I mean, it's like, the inflation is so crazy right now in America that you can't, that what used to cost $100 costs 200 now. But yet wages haven't really increased that much. And because they have increased, it has caused things
Hmm.
to inflate. I mean, there's other reasons, but it's like, so now we were talking about like a video game. I was talking about buying a suit last night, and like you have to, it's almost like you have to reason and ration things
Hmm.
out and go, well, what is more important? Is it the groceries in the cabinets, or is it the suit you're going to wear? And it's like, well, why can't I have both? Well, you only have money for
Hmm.
one. So what's more important? And it's like, I want to get to the lifestyle where, and I was telling Nick, not having this extravagant
Hmm.
lifestyle where you got a Rolex and you got, this you're driving around $500,000 car and stuff like that. Like, I don't need all that. I don't want all that. But like, where you can go and make a purchase, $100, $200 purchase, and you don't have to worry about
Hmm.
it. You don't have to go, now, how does this fit into my budget this
Hmm.
week? How does this make me feel?
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. We were talking a lot about that before we started recording the actual podcast, but it's a tough thing because I find myself doing it a lot.
I feel like a vast majority of people, whether they listen to this or not, struggle with that of
Hmm.
of making those decisions of going, Do I decide now to have fun, to enjoy life, to experience life, go in debt for it, whatever the case is, or do I play it safe? Do I budget? Do I do all this good stuff? So then in 10 to 15 years,
If I make it.
if I make it,
Mhm.
like you're playing the if game, if I make it, then I can experience life.
Yeah, and I mean that's what kind of I've talked about before. About as I was talking to my mother-in-law, Miss Julie, for I'm sure she's listening 3 weeks from now, but to
At
catch
least
back up
two.
again, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just I was talking to her about I could have it's just like we talk. I have a Ford Broncos, my dream car, and I finally pulled the trigger and we got it. And I pay more monthly for that than I have other vehicles that I've owned. But I'm like in my head, I'm like we could afford it now, and it would bring me joy now. And who's to say at some point in the future that I wouldn't be able to, or I'd be putting it off for years and years and years and possibly never get it. I was like, I have the ability to do so now, so why not now?
Right.
I could back myself into a corner and be like, well, if you wait, 7 years, pay off the car loans you have now, that's cheaper right now, then in 7 years you might be able to finally get what you want. And I think you could think about that with a lot of different things, whatever it is that vacations or whatever it is that you're thinking about. It's just like, I have to wait, I have to wait, I have to wait, I have to wait, I have to wait. It is, tough because again, I understand and I know there's a lot of people that aren't in that position who, other people in countries, different states, all those sorts of things. That what I'm talking about is like, God, I wish I could afford a $200 car. I get that. I don't want to seem, I guess, all high and mighty and whatever. But like, ultimately, what I'm trying to say, I've been blessed. I'm thankful for what I have, but ultimately, what I'm trying to say and get at is, we are so guilty sometimes, I think, of torturing ourselves in the moment for this possibility of something later in life.
Down the road type situation.
We're like, at some point I'll be, I'll have a dream job. At some point I'll have my dream car. At some point I'll have that dream wife or husband, or or these 2.5 perfect kids or whatever you want to say. At some point, that's what it is. I can never remember. But it's like that one day mentality. Julie's also famous for that. I'm sure give her a shout out. That one day mentality. Where it's like,
One day,
this church will be filled one day.
One day,
We'll have millions of downloads one day.
One day.
But it's that one day is it's kind of like an empty hope. It's not a goal. It's like you just throwing something out there, hoping that one day, but you're not making any progress towards that one day. You're not doing anything to get there. But that one day I think makes us feel a little bit better on the inside. But what we're talking about here is at what point are you going to be able to just grab the reins and enjoy life today? Like to be able, and you can get all super Christian and be like, you should be thankful for what you have right now. You shouldn't be wanting more or needing more.
Stay home. Don't listen to this podcast because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. This is a podcast for real Christians,
right,
not
for real
super
Christians.
Spiritual Christians.
The Christians that suck.
Word.
But yeah, it's just we naturally we want you would be living under a rock if you didn't have goals, aspirations, things you wanted to do. And there's times where you've had to talk yourself out of it, or maybe you chose to talk yourself out of it. And we're ultimately, I think we've had this conversation just to try and get us to understand that number one, we're not alone. That we both kind of feel this way. That we both hate that. Because I get guilty a lot of times of just sitting there being like, I could have this thing now, and it may not be the wisest decision right now to have it. I could save money by not having it, but I want it and I want to enjoy it now. So it's like, why would I put it off? Why should I put it off? Why should I have to put it off? And how do you get to a point where you no longer have to feel guilty about, not putting it off?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times we get guilty about, like I could buy this thing right now, but, that might put me a little tighter on this paycheck than I want to. And if gas prices go up, then I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And I think family and like stuff like that has a lot to do with it, because now you're sacrificing for other people. And so it's like you got other expenses, you got other stuff going on, and so it does. I mean, it makes it hard. And I don't get me wrong, we chose to have kids, things like that. I get that, I understand that, but so like at that moment in time, though, it's like you're taking on more responsibility, you're taking on more, like as far as like providing for more and things. But so like for me as a husband and a father, like I always funnel like things that I get or things that I do through situations like that. It's like, well, it's like I would really like this, but it's like my kids have to do this week or something like that. And so to me, it's like, where do you, I guess, maybe battle self gratification to a little bit of an extent, or
avoiding selfishness, because I think that's to me, like I know there's times where I'm like, I could, just like with the vehicle or with a vacation or a convention, I go to like the comic conventions, things like that, to meet people, and I'm sitting there thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm doing this for me. Like, this is something that I want to do. This is something that I maybe, I'll be honest with you, go into debt for a short period of time until I can pay it back off.
It means
Like,
that much, huh?
it happens sometimes. But that's the thing, but that's the thing I'm getting at, is like, are these things that we spend these time and this time, this money, and this effort on, is it worth it over something else?
It's worth it to you.
Yeah, it's worth it to me. But because I choose to do this, I could use, that's where you're thinking, you're that thought process of, I could use this money to be a blessing to somebody else. I could use this money to save up this money and take my whole family on vacation and do something we would all enjoy. There's these different things, like, again, I'm not saying I'm perfect.
Does anybody really enjoy a family vacation, though?
No.
I mean,
I mean,
let's just be real, man.
Yeah.
Like by the time that you get to the vacation point, the kids have cried, they've yelled, they've screamed, they've asked you 1,000 times, "Are you there yet?" Everybody's tired, everybody's angry. You have a couple good days in there where it's like you get some sleep and you get to enjoy it. Then by like day 3, everybody's like, "I'm tired, I'm grumpy, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. When we going home? My bed sleeps better, blah, blah, blah." And then it's like, oh, then you got the drive back.
That's why I choose to go to conventions alone.
Oh man, no, family. I mean, family vacations are good, things like that. I think there's got to be like a healthy balance in there somewhere, though, of where you take time for yourself, you invest in yourself, but you also sacrifice for others. I think there's a healthy balance in there, but I don't know. I guess maybe where I was coming from was just that centralized point of saying where do you get there to get to that point of where you don't want this lavish lifestyle. But because I mean, working 40 hours a week, dude, ain't gonna get you there. Because you're working for the man. You're working for the machine or whatever you want to say. Like, you're basically working, and somebody is dipping into your check. Somebody's taking from you, the federal government, the state government, health insurance, benefits, like all that stuff is coming out of your check before you get your check. Then you're devoting 40 hours a week of your life to a place that will literally replace you in 24. That's the crazy part. But like, you do that, you get this check, and then it's like, okay, my check has not increased because guess what? Like, they've not given you a raise. But
they don't want to lose any more money.
Right, everything around you has increased. Doesn't matter what it is, gas, clothes, food, the whole 9 yards. Everything is increased. So now, how do you make your money stretch more, stretch longer, stretch further than what you did before, basically making the same thing, not asking for a lavish lifestyle, but asking for comfort and freedom and breathing room. That's where, if anybody has any kind of guidance on that
stupid Dave Ramsey video.
I think too, it's like God forbid, because nobody lives your life for you but you. But like, here's the thing about it. Like, I know people will come and be like, "Well, just stop spending money on stupid stuff," and it's like, bro, listen, I was just telling Nick before we got online, it's like, listen, man, it's like my family eats out once every 2 weeks. It's not like we're sitting at a different restaurant every night, okay? Like, literally, we don't have things flowing into the house. Like, we don't have 19 Amazon packages sitting on the doorstep every day. Thank God, but it's like we don't have stuff like that. It's not like, I have a vehicle with big nice wheels on it and tires and brand new like Nick's, things like that. Like, I don't have, like, mine's a 2018. But
it's also a Land Rover.
People say like Land Rover, it's expensive. It's like, no, bro, that's the Dollar General version of Range Rover. So, but
which
it's
is
like,
where he does his grocery shopping, which explains where all his money goes.
Evidently, the dollar store is not where you buy groceries at. That's what Nick told me. So we don't get all of our groceries there. We just, we make convenient pit stops there.
Not any better.
It's not. Nowhere is better. Not unless you just
a little cheaper.
Grow all your food. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, grow all your food. That's what we're gonna do. Hunt and grow.
But it's like we don't have things that are literally. I guess that like we don't have stupid purchases, I guess is what is what I'm
I
saying.
mean,
Like
some people would
it's
consider your isogenics a stupid purchase.
I mean, some people might,
I,
but
I
I
know a
mean,
lot of the things I buy are still
right,
stupid
right.
purchases
But
to
I mean,
people.
but I guess maybe like spontaneous purchases. It's
Mhm.
not something where it's like, oh, that looks good, bam. Like I was just telling you about that suit. It's like
Mhm.
I looked at that suit and it was $200, and I'm like, that's stupid.
Mhm.
Put it back. Let's go home.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
because I
like,
was just on campus. So we just spent $200 on groceries like about a week ago.
yeah. And I said I wanted a suit.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah,
He got the groceries. I didn't get
yeah,
the suit. So I feel like we both made the right choice.
yeah. I mean, we're eating.
Yeah.
we got what we need.
And I'm rotating suits,
Yeah, you are.
So there you go. But no, I mean, like, I just, I guess maybe if somebody could, like, hey, say, hey,
Mhm.
maybe let's do this, or have you thought about this, or like maybe. I feel
Mhm.
like anybody who's wanting to get started, and we talked about before we got on there, like an entrepreneurial. I think I said that
It's
right.
hard to say. I had a very hard time saying that word a minute ago,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Entrepreneurial. I will say that entrepreneurial spirit.
the spirit of an entrepreneur.
There we go.
That makes it a little easier.
Man, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Like to have that spirit is one thing
Mhm.
because you'll start it and you'll try to see it through. But to have guidance in the middle of it and to be like, hey, do this, be here, do this, go here, do this. Like, I think that's where it really matters at. And so, for somebody like myself, yourself, whoever, who's sitting out there going, man, like it's not like I go out and do stupid stuff. I'm not going to 6 concerts a year and going to ball games and going to this, that, and the other. Like I literally
Eating
work.
out
Yeah,
$15 a day.
yeah. Like I literally work, go home and say it. Work,
Mhm.
go home and say it. Work, and it's like
I
I
mean, you go to the
still.
gym.
Well, I do. I do go to the gym and I come to church. Like that's it. But that
Mhm.
is my life though. Like that's no joke. Like you're not going to call me up on a Saturday, be like, Keenan, where you at? Man, I tell you what, decided to drive down to Atlanta today.
Mhm.
Just down here hanging out. Like
That's
it's
the
just
stupid stuff I do.
yeah, this is true. But it's like that's just not me. So I guess maybe more than not, it's like I just want somebody to look back and say, hey, man, like maybe this is what you need to do. Maybe there's some guidance in there a little bit somewhere, or just be like, no, this is pretty much it, bro.
Mhm.
This is your hope, and
This is as good as it
this
gets.
is where you're gonna be,
This is
and
your ceiling.
you're gonna have to Klarna and Afterpay your groceries. So there you go. Yeah.
Afterpay it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you got your milk on loan.
Yeah.
So
A certain amount every 2 weeks.
yeah,
Zero interest.
yeah. So
Awesome.
I don't know.
By the time you pay off that week, by the time you pay off last week's groceries, you're
Yeah.
paying on next week's groceries.
yeah, pretty much. And I mean, and so I mean, me, I'll just be as transparent as possible, man. But I mean, there has been times and moments in our lives where we've done that.
Mhm.
Like that's just it. And but it's like it's not just me. Like I don't tell stories to be like, oh, I feel sorry for me.
Mhm.
Because
A lot of
I
people do it.
know. I know there's millions of people out there that will not listen to this. That that
Not
hope
with that attitude.
yeah, I know, right? That are struggling and going through situations like that too. And it's like, so, I don't just want the answer only for me or for you, but like I want the answer for everybody because
Mhm.
you can say, well, just be an entrepreneur. If
Start your own business.
if everybody done that, Nick, if everybody started their own business, and I know it's a hypothetical situation because not everybody's going to do it. So I get that part. But if everybody in this scenario went out and started their own business and said, "All right, I'm going to sell you this, I'm going to sell you this, I'm going to sell you this," and done it that way, then somebody would shut it down, bro, because we would work the big time corporations out of a job. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was to just go out and say, I don't know, what's something that somebody sells? Hammers. Hammers just came to mind, man. So let's just say I'm gonna
hammer up in Louisville.
yeah, I'm just gonna start a hammer business, and it's like, all right, well, what else? Tape measure business. So I'm gonna start a tape measure business, and like, so you think about this stuff. So like, at some point in time, that Lowe's, that Home Depot, that people like that are going to go, well, wait a minute, why is our sales went down so much for? Oh, because people stopped buying and started making their own business. Wait a minute.
Yeah, Keenan's over here like in a forge making hammers and selling them
Hey,
for half the price of ours.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, let's see what happens. But so I'm just saying, like, if you start doing that, somebody's going to put a stop to it somewhere because at that moment, people in high positions in these multi-million-dollar companies are starting to lose money because we are taking matters into our own hands. And if they're losing money, guess who else is losing money? The federal government, And if the federal government's losing money,
I
somebody
mean,
is
the
about
federal
to put.
government's always losing money.
Well, this is true, but if they can pinpoint and find somebody that's costing them money, let me say
Mhm.
that. If
You'll
they're
be Epstein
Yeah,
very
right,
quickly.
right. You will be exiled. You will be exited from this world. But that's what I'm saying. Like there's
Mhm.
so where do you fit into that mold, into that mix where it's like you can have a decent life, you can have a fair life, you can have a good life without disrupting and bringing this attention to your life that you don't want. That it's just like you just want to kind of just slide by and do your thing.
Yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of things I
You've
think.
said
I know
that after
it's hard. It's
everything
hard.
I've
It is.
said. It's hard.
It's hard. You just say hard things. I don't know, but to me, I'm thinking because there's just so many different. The people listening to this, they come from, I'm sure, different walks of life, different backgrounds, different all kinds of different stuff. So it's like, there's so many different factors that play into things. You're talking, you have people, that again, it's going to take. I think it takes initiative. It takes, it takes effort. It takes, kind of trying to do what you've heard works. Seeing if it works, and going, playing around with it, adapting to it, and things like that. I mean, because I'll be the first to say, there are things that I spend money on. There's things that come out of my paychecks monthly that if they weren't coming out of my paycheck monthly, I could probably live the lifestyle of, like, hey, if I want something, I'll go get it. And I mean, when I say go get something, I'm not talking about some, multi-million-dollar, multi-thousand-dollar thing. I'm just thinking, if I wanted to go buy a video game, or if I wanted to go buy a suit, I could do so without, feeling that guilt and that shame
You gonna
because,
buy a suit?
I'm not buying a suit. No.
Oh, okay.
What purpose would I have in wearing a suit? Anyway, but like,
You never know.
you never know. Okay. Be invited to a suits only club at one point or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
Somebody might die one of these days, bro.
they
You might need it.
I don't wear a suit to a funeral.
Really?
They're dead. What do they care?
Golly, man.
But and so like
Even
to
if
me,
you're involved in the funeral?
absolutely not. I've been involved in several funerals and never worn a suit. Like, I mean, it's for what?
Well, I don't know, man.
It's the same mentality behind you have to wear a suit to church. Why?
I don't know.
Exactly. Like, I mean,
It's hard.
who cares?
It's hard.
It is
It's hard.
It's
I'll
hard.
just give you the same
Yeah,
answer
go
you
ahead.
give
Exactly.
me. It's hard.
It's all you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But to me, because I get, there's decisions that I've made that have put me, underneath debt or underneath something, that's keeping me from, experiencing, financial freedom or whatever it may be, and that kind of goes back to the circle of, I'm under this debt because I'm getting or doing things that I want to do now, and eventually it'll be paid off. Yeah, but it's just like, why not enjoy life now and enjoy life later too? Like it's just like,
Because you can't have your cake and eat it too.
apparently not.
You can't do it.
Apparently not.
I don't know who came up with that saying, but
Yeah, it
I've
doesn't
heard
really
that
make a lot
all
of
my
sense to
life.
me.
Well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Why not?
I
I
know.
love cake.
I don't know. Like, if I had a cake, I would eat it. Like, what am I gonna do? Look at it?
Yeah.
Like, just sit it on a.
It better be
a tray somewhere?
buttercream icing. It better not
Buttercream
be no
icing.
whip. If it's whipped icing,
I'll
you're
just
going to
eat
hell.
cake. Cake is cake. I mean,
Oh no, you're going to hell. That's all I can say. I'll pray for you.
you must like cats.
No, there'll be cats and people who eat whipped icing will be together down there.
In hell,
Okay.
a special little section of hell.
Yes, absolutely. The cats will be cutting the cake for the people.
And the cake will be made of cats. Like, it'll just be a circle.
That's Chinese food.
Oh yeah, it is true.
So.
That's true. Sweet and sour chicken, sort of. But so I mean, ultimately, I think there is personal responsibility. If we're talking about how to get to that point, there is going to be a lot of personal responsibility there. I mean, we are all given different decisions. Now that's true and that's not true. There are some people who were given the opportunity to go to college. Some people who would never have the opportunity to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
You have people that they're presented different opportunities for different jobs, all those sorts of things. So. I think there is a little bit, as much as we don't like talking about it, I think there is a little bit of chance. You can call it God's will, whatever you want to call it. As far as what family you're born into, what location you're born at, all these sorts of different things play a factor as well. But there is a what we can control. We can't control that part, but what we can control, is our personal responsibility. Do I choose? Do I choose to go into debt for a big purchase now and not be able to afford those smaller purchases that I want to make? I have that decision to make. I can make that decision. Or do I want to, get just what I need to get by right now and save up for a possible future where I can enjoy my life? I can make that, and I can live a comfortable life where, I don't have anything extravagant. I don't have extreme, crazy monthly payments where my paycheck's just going straight out the door. I don't have that, so that means I can't afford, these little small purchases I want to make every once in a while. There's a lot of personal decision, personal choice, personal responsibility that plays into all of that. Now if you're saying you're in one of those camps and you're trying to move to the other camp, that's where it becomes a little bit more difficult, because now you're going to have to start cutting back in certain areas to pay off debt faster and to get to a different point, or you're going to have to start making less less payments so you can afford other things. Right now, there's a lot of budgeting involved. There's a lot of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, another weird saying that we get. I don't know where that comes from either, but
I don't
borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, all that stuff.
I always heard robbing. Like you rob Peter to pay Paul. Yeah.
I've heard that one too.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately there's a lot that goes into any decisions, any financial thing that we make. I'll probably call this episode "Bad Financial Advice" because God knows we're definitely getting nobody anywhere.
Yeah.
But
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, we're just asking questions. We are curious about things. We know nobody's going to comment and give us the answers, but we'll
I'll
try.
be 1,000%. The whole reason why I do this podcast is to get my brain clear and to get my chest not heavy no more.
I think there's a lot of people that their podcast is how they do that. John Chris talks about that in his podcast all the time. He's like, this is our way to say things that we couldn't say to people in person.
Yeah,
like we're just gonna say it on here so we can't get in trouble for it.
I mean that's just that, and it's like just the questions and conversation that you would normally have, or maybe not normally have, that you can just kind of bring it to the table and talk about it and say, hey man, what's going on with this?
How can I as a pastor afford a $200 suit without feeling like I'm a bad person? Like
that sounds horrible,
man.
That does.
It does sound horrible.
See, when you say it like that, though, like it makes it sound like you're like, God, is it that bad? Like somebody get this man. Like, do you need food tonight? Are you staying under the bridge?
Is the youth pastor with a Ford Bronco afford to buy a video game? Like it's just these things that you're just like, well, if I say it that way.
Is the youth pastor getting paid and the pastor's not? Like what's like what's happening here right now? Like what is going on? So.
Because you buy your groceries at Dollar General.
Yeah, right. It's because I put my Klarna payments on my groceries at dollar stores.
Because you're spending $100 on supplements every month.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. All right, so let's take that for example really quick. So I'm going to cut that $100 out. All right, so you're going to cut that $100 out, Keenan, and at the end of the year, you're going to have $1,200. And it's like, no. Probably what's going to happen is I'm going to cut that $100 out, and you know what's going to happen?
Spend in other ways.
Yes, 1,000%. Like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, we'll buy $100 more worth of groceries this month.
Or that's not even how I think the process goes. Well, I kind of want this item on the shelf right there. He's like, and as a matter of fact, I'm saving $100 because I cut out Isogenics, so I can technically afford to buy that extra item right there.
Right. And guess what? If it's not over 100, I actually still saved money this month by doing that. So
my health took a toll,
right?
Those hostesses over there probably weren't as good for me as the Isogenics.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but that's what I'm saying. Like, people say, well, I'm going to give up this to pay this, or I'll take this and put it over here to do this, and it's like, to some extent, I feel like that does work, but it's like, what is your goal? Like, what is your goal? Is it to plan for 20 years from now, whenever this world is going to be so crazy that God knows what's going to happen? Like, I mean, go back to 1995. Let's go back to 1995. If you were to say in 95, there would be a way to trade money that you could not see, like could not physically see. And
talking like Venmo type.
Yeah, well, I'm talking like crypto, like cryptocurrency, like things like that. Like
that's a whole other issue.
Well, it is, but like, I mean, whether we like it or not, it's in the conversation now, and people are, well, tell me your choices, tell me what you did, but it's a thing, and so in 95, I guess maybe too, it's like in 95, if you were to look at people and go, hey, in 30 years, I need you to invest money in something where you can't see, but it's still going to make money. Maybe, and people are like
strong on the maybe.
So in 95, you got people like, do you have people in 95 going, well, let's X out the Florida vacation. Let's X out, going here, there. Like, let's X this stuff out. and because they're telling me that 30 years from now that something could be great around the corner. And so
honey, we're not going on vacation this year. I'm investing all of my money in this thing called Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
What is it? I don't know.
I don't know. Apparently, you can't see it, touch it, feel it, see it, play with it, do anything with it. But apparently, it's gonna make us money.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works.
It's in the cloud.
Yeah, you have to mine for it with a shovel. No computers.
It's
you have to mine for it with computers.
I mean,
what's a computer? Well, it's this thing that you use.
That's what I was saying. Like, how crazy does that sound? In '95, how crazy does that sound? So you're talking about somebody in 25 right now that they're listening to this episode. You're talking about me and you sitting here in this present moment, and we're talking about like literally saving up for, let's just say 2055.
Mm-hmm.
God, 2055, 30 years. What is going to transition and change in 30 years?
When I'm 57, I'll finally be able to enjoy life.
Well, not only that, it's like what then will come about in life if the Lord tarries, if he doesn't come back in 2055. Think about, I know, right?
Come back.
Right? Think about it. Like at that moment in time, I'll be 69, almost 70 years old. Hopefully to God, I'm not doing this podcast,
right.
But if by happenstance we are, we can go back to episode 136 because we'll be on episode 13,036. Feels like probably by the end.
141, I think.
Okay, so 141. But we'll go back and say, was it worth it to save for 30 years just to get to a point now where you can't afford what's on the table now? So that's my thing. It's like you prepare for the future, you may save for the future, but you don't know. You don't know where the future's or what's happening in the future. You don't know. So that's crazy to me.
It's kind of like the point of like IRAs and retirement funds and things of that nature. Like it's like I can make less each paycheck and put this money away, but I'm not allowed to touch it for 40 years. It's just like,
and then if you die, it's like, oh well, somebody else can enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, that's freaking stupid.
That's stupid.
That's freaking stupid.
You
got to think about your kids. You want to set up your kids for financial success.
And I agree. Like I get that. I understand that.
For themselves.
Yeah.
I had to.
I ain't worried about nothing now. But so I do get that. But it's like, that literally makes no sense. It's like I'm putting money up that I can't touch now in hopes that I can touch it 30 years from now. And if I have any kind of life, like again, there's so many different variables. You don't know what kind of life you're going to have 30 years from now. You don't know if you're going to have health issues. You don't know, you don't know. And so I know there's always two sides to every coin where you can be like, oh, well, it can still help you have a better life, even though it's like, oh, thanks. So I can enjoy sucking even more. Okay. Right. So, like that's amazing. Okay.
It's a combined effort. Like, I feel like it's a matter of making, I guess, wiser, better, however you want to say it, decisions like in the moment or at the moment, those times where I always think it's funny. Like you'll walk past an aisle and you'll see an item in a spot that it doesn't go there. Right. So like you'll see like a movie in the snack cake aisle, right? And you're like, well, a decision was made here. Like I'd rather have food than a movie. Like so someone just stuck a movie there, got a box of something, to replace it with. I won't buy the movie, I'll buy this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of those types of decisions. I feel like where it's like you were saying, I could buy the suit or groceries. Like I could buy this or I could do that. It's a matter of a lot of those types of decisions. Like I think in the present moment, while also setting yourself up to, so that way in the future, your decisions now aren't going to hurt you in the future. Like I get, because it's like we're way kind of we're talking now. It's like, you want to make decisions now that aren't going to hurt you in the future, but you don't want to make decisions now that are going to help you in the future.
Right.
It's like it's a tightrope, I think, to walk, because you're just like I want to enjoy my life right now. But I also want to be in a place 20 years from now where I don't hate my life.
Yeah.
Where I'm not in a deep hole, struggling at 55 to get out, digging my way out, where I'm tired and old and ready to get out. Now, sorry for every 55-year-old that just heard that. But like I'm tired and worn out, and I don't want to have to put in a lot more work and effort. Because if you do, like a lot of people, average life expectancy is what, like 75, 76, something like that, 82,
78, I think.
So like, if I do make it to 78, if I'm 78 years old, I don't want to have to be working. I don't want to have to be thousands of dollars in debt. I don't want to have to deal with that. I want to just relax and enjoy life. But I also want to relax and enjoy life now at 27. Like how, and I think there's that constant, back and forth as to, what is the right thing to do? What's the right amount of money to save? What's the wrong amount of debt to get into? And Dave Ramsey would say any debt's the wrong debt to get into. But, it's just like, do I drive the clunker until it breaks down on me and I'm stranded on the side of the road, or do I go into a little bit of debt and put a little bit of my monthly paychecks into this vehicle and all that kind of stuff? And do I invest in health insurance in case I need it, or car insurance in case I need it? Or do I cut back in one of those areas and pay less a month and, and struggle more in case it happens?
Right.
It's like this constant back and forth borrowing. It's like you're borrowing from the future to enjoy the now.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very difficult tightrope to walk, because you're like, how much do I enjoy life now to make sure I don't suffer later? And how much or how little do I enjoy now to make sure I enjoy more later? It's just this back and forth. It really gets confusing when you sit there and you talk about it and all that kind of stuff. And again, as you can clearly tell, we don't have the answers. We don't know the right thing to do. I'm like I said, I'm thousands in debt, and I'm sure he's thousands in debt in different ways. We are all almost everybody in this life is thousands in debt.
Right.
In some way, shape, or form, whether it's a mortgage, whether it's car payments, 2 car payments, whether it's credit cards, whether it's student loans, whatever it is. Debt is definitely, it's a chain. It definitely holds you back and keeps you from doing some things. But and this is something Dave Ramsey definitely won't like. That will let you do some things that you would normally be able to do. Not everybody's going to be able to pay for a brand new car out of cash or something like that. Like that's a hard, you'd have to really be well off in order to do that. You'd have to be saving for a long time in order to do that. You'd have to find that mystery, that mystery savings account Dave Ramsey talks about with the crazy yield and interest rate that will get you all kinds of money within 20 years. Yeah. Like you'd have to find that mystery once in a lifetime golden egg savings bond account or whatever it is, and be saving from the time you were 16 or from the time you were 8. All that birthday money you got me. It's what's so crazy to me is about these like self-help financial gurus. Like I saved every dime I had since I was 5. And that's how I can afford to pay for my car in cash.
That's pretty crazy to me.
Right.
That's like hiding coffee cans in the backyard, man, and going and digging them up. I want to read just a little bit to you really quick. This is CNBC.com, which is probably totally false, but nonetheless. But it has to do with finances, so it could be true. If it has to do with politics, it's probably false. But anyways, so I want you to listen. It says, nearly half of Americans at least somewhat agree with the statement, I am living paycheck to paycheck as of the third quarter of 2024. The share shrank slightly between the second and third quarters of this year, but in 22, less than 40% of Americans felt this way, Bank of America reports. So you have at least a 10% tick over the last couple of years where people are living paycheck to paycheck. Importantly, how each respondent defines living paycheck to paycheck may vary. So for the purposes of the study, Bank of America set a threshold. Households spending at least 90% of their income on necessities. That ain't stuff that's, again, necessities is what though? You need. So I don't know. This is what
is a car payment necessity.
I would assume water, electric, I would assume shelter,
rent, or mortgage.
Yep. I would assume a car for work. And I would assume maybe kids. I don't know, but healthcare, yes, something like that. So it says, so for the purposes of the study, Bank of America set a threshold. Households spending at least 90% of their income on necessities could be considered living paycheck to paycheck. By that measure, around 30% of American households are living paycheck to paycheck, according to Bank of America's internal data. Further, 26% of households spend 95% or more of their income on necessities. It's worth noting that not all transactions were captured in the data, which only tracked post-deduction incomes and funds kept in the Bank of America accounts. However, it still highlights discord among Americans in the ways they see themselves and their financial situations. So let me read this to you. As you might expect, the share of households living paycheck to paycheck is highest among the lowest earners, of course. About 35% of households earning less than 50,000 a year have necessary spending in excess of 95% of their incomes. That is insane. Compared with a little over 20% of households earning between 75 and 100,000. But earning a low income doesn't inherently cause those households to live paycheck to paycheck. Higher expenses seem to be a bigger reason households are strapped for cash each month to report fines. Now, listen to this. This is what totally blew my mind. About 20% of households earning more than 150,000 a year spend over 95% of their income on necessities. Now, let me ask you a question. If that is the case, now, of course, they are saying this may be due to the fact that the higher earning families are more likely to have larger homes, more expensive cars, leading to higher monthly costs. Okay, so we
Which
get it.
is
So,
their fault.
which is their fault. Right,
Yeah.
right. Which is their fault. But I also want to say too that I mean necessities wise, like yes, like so you are spending more because you're making more. But if you're talking about these people that are making anywhere, let's just say from the 50 to 75 range, and they're spending 95% of their total. Let's just say, let me get the old calculator out here because I can't do math like that. So let's say 75%, let's say $75,000, and you're spending 95% of it. That's 71,250. You literally have like $3,000. You
Three,
know,
four thousand dollars
yeah.
somewhere in that
I
range.
mean, like you have let's just say $3,500. You have $3,500 for the year. $3,500 for the year to spend on things that are outside living. That
And
are
I would
outside.
say
That
that
are
that's I mean that's not just outside. I mean that you're thinking if you have credit card debt, that's some of that's going to go towards minimum monthly payments.
right.
And so that's that.
Yeah.
If they're counting car payments and gas and all that stuff as necessities, I mean if they're not, I mean how much does somebody spend on gas? Like that's a lot.
I would say they're counting car payments, gas. I don't know,
I
but
would say
now
they have to be.
think about health issues.
Mm-hmm.
Think about health, like where,
Co-pays.
like where you're going, like where even you yourself, you were like, I just had to stop going to the doctor because I mean, by the
Mm-hmm.
time you're paying those bills and you're paying co-pays and you're paying payments and stuff like that, it's like
Like I said 2022 probably spent hundreds of dollars in like co-pays
yeah.
and
I th-
medicines.
I think it was the great historian Theo Vaughn that said. Actually, I
I
don't.
don't know, man.
Yeah, that was talking about, and he made a statement. I'll look this up too, just in a second. But whenever I let Nick talk, but he was talking about that. I think that 50. I think it was 55% of all bankruptcy in America is due to medical bills. I think
I
was the
believe it.
statement.
I believe it.
And so you think
Mm-hmm.
about that. Think about that $3,500 that you have extra, not going towards your health insurance, but going to not only paying your health insurance, but to paying more because your health insurance doesn't cover
Mm-hmm.
what you're going in for.
Yeah.
You know.
Thanks, Luigi. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding. I'm not
yeah,
gonna make that
right. Oh man.
it's pretty crazy. It is absolutely insane. Healthcare costs so much, and I was actually thinking about that as you were talking. I'm thinking about health insurance. I'm thinking about the amount of money that we spend on things in case something happens.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like it's so crazy to me. Car insurance. Hundreds of dollars a month for car insurance for if you get in an accident. I have been in one accident since 20. I want to say it was 2016. Let's say since I graduated high school. Since I started driving even. I've been in one accident. So I started driving probably about 2012 ish. I think is when I started driving when I was 16, something like that. I've been in one accident since then, and I've been paying car insurance. You're talking over a decade, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about a decade. The hundreds of dollars that I've spent on car insurance for one accident I've had in a decade.
So, according to the American Bankruptcy Institute, healthcare costs, listen to this, healthcare costs are approximately 62% of the 2 million personal bankruptcies filed each year.
Crazy.
62%. of 2 million bankruptcies are because of health.
This is why America
care.
can't afford free health care.
This, I mean, but
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
let's go back. Like let's go back to what we were talking about before. This $3,500 that you're meant to live on for the rest of the year, and yet you
Yeah,
have
and you say, I mean, say you've been paying the lowest deductible possible. You know,
Yeah.
like you've been paying the least monthly for your health insurance, which means you get the worst coverage your company offers. You
right.
know, like, and you're paying. You know, you're still struggling. You know, that's a big chunk of your money every month.
Yep.
And you know, but you have the worst the worst plan your company offers. And so, like, when a major healthcare crisis hits you,
Yeah.
you're having to pay a lot out of pocket
Yeah.
compared to maybe another employee.
It was more than 3,500.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
You know,
Yeah.
and at that point, when you pay that more, then you're in the hole.
Yeah, you better trust God with your health in
Yeah,
2025.
you better do something, man,
he is,
because the tax guy's coming for
Yeah,
you.
it's
you
crazy.
know?
I mean, because and that's kind of where I was getting at. You know, with the insurance thing is, you know, like my wife works for the school system. You know, and like she recently got health insurance for her and our son. You know, and I mean, you're talking about hundreds of dollars a month for health insurance. You know, just in case they get he gets sick or she gets sick or something along those lines. And it's just and to add me, like, to basically add one other person in our household to the health insurance policy, it would double it.
Yeah.
And it's just for numbers to help people understand it. Imagine the health insurance policy is $200 for my wife and my son, but to add me, it would jump it up to $400 a month, right? $400 a month.
Yeah.
Like that is crazy
for preventative care.
Yeah,
maybe.
on the off chance. Yeah, on the off chance. Like, I have not had health insurance for since I was 26, so about a little over a year now. Like, I haven't had health insurance. Now, before I turned 26, I went to the doctor one time when I was still on my parents' health insurance plan. I wasn't paying anything for it; it was just part of their thing. And so, like, I wasn't paying anything for it. So when I turned 26, I was like, you know what? I went to the doctor once last year in 2023. Went to the doctor once. I ain't paying for health insurance.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm not having that monthly cost come out of my paycheck every month because that's crazy. $200 something more than that a month on the off chance that I get sick. And I didn't get sick but once the year prior. So, in my head, I'm thinking, but God forbid I do get sick, it's kind of like
it's all coming out of pocket.
It's all coming out of pocket somehow or another. That's why, again, trust God with my health. Right. He's done a great job so far for the last 2 years. And so that's awesome. But, it's crazy, though, again, because you're paying hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of dollars a month on the off chance that, and just think, what could you do with hundreds of dollars a month? If I wasn't paying, my car insurance, that's, a couple $300 a month.
I mean, people get insurance on everything. Like, it doesn't matter what it, like, I never thought I would see the day where people have insurance on their dogs. I mean, that's
stupid. I ain't even be like, I know there's like dog lovers out there.
I love my dog.
I know you love your dog,
but I don't have insurance on him.
Yeah, that's stupid.
No, I don't have insurance on him. But but I mean, people have insurance on their animals. People have phones, insurance. I was going to say TVs. that was the next thing I was going was the phones, man. So it's like people have figured out a way to make bukus and oodlings of money, which I don't know how much that is. I've heard that one too.
Bukus and oodlings.
Bukus and oodlings. But yeah, I mean, like, so if you was to take like all of your insurance payments, let's just say that, like, take your health insurance, take your car insurance, take whatever insurance else that you have in your life, and take those payments off. How much more money would you have a month to be able to live your life? If somebody was to say, hey, if Apple was to say, you break your phone, we'll get you a new one. If the healthcare industry was to say, you come in, we'll see you, you know what, we'll take care of it. Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Thanks, Sweden.
If you was to get in a wreck, the car company would say, hey, tell you what is it you drive? Oh, you drive a Ford? All right, man, Ford take care of it. You know what I mean?
Care of it. We'll replace it.
Yeah, we'll replace it. We'll do whatever. If that was the case, man, think about how much, I'm sitting here thinking to myself right now, my health insurance that comes out of my check for the family, for the car insurance. I don't have phone insurance. Screw that. I'm like, if it breaks, it breaks. Whatever.
That's my line.
Like, it is what it is. But I'm thinking, like, just in that alone, man, just in those couple of things, like, I'm like sitting here thinking, man, that's
you could buy that suit. You could buy that suit.
I could
feel good about it.
I could buy 2 suits a month. I mean, so maybe, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I know I feel like we're talking in circles a lot, but I
all this
also,
to say, America sucks.
yeah,
Like,
I'm moving.
yeah, it sucks
I'm
here.
moving.
Yeah,
But
it sucks
no,
here.
I think, man, again, like I think we get involved in a system
Mhm.
of where we jump into a system of trying to make money because we want to accomplish a life, and then we become a slave to the system, and then we get wrapped up in the system, and then we don't know how to get out of the system, and then we fall victim to the system, and so I mean, I guess all of that just to say that I feel like that somebody out there, again, somebody's got the answer. Okay.
If you could just help us hit a reset button,
Yeah,
we'll tell
so
everybody else how to get out of it.
Well, I mean, like again, I want this podcast to be about not just about Jesus. He's the most important thing. Don't get me wrong, but I want it to be about what people struggle with. And I mean, and those are things where like where sometimes I do struggle with thought processes like that, like where it's like God, like I like I'm not doing stupid stuff. Like, I'm not buying drugs. I'm not buying cocaine.
I'm not buying cocaine.
Yeah, I'm not buying cocaine. I'm not like, like I don't have like
I do put a powder in my drink every morning, but it's not cocaine. Yeah.
You need to get off that, bro. You need to get off my isogenics. But it's like I'm not like like feeding some kind of like gambling addiction that I've secretly had for 27 years. Like, I'm not like getting chased around by the what do they call them, the bookies or whatever, like trying to.
You're not getting escorts or anything.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
like yeah, true. Like it's like so it's like it's like God, like I'll look to the ceiling. I'm like God, I'm like, what's up? You know what I'm saying?
I just
like,
want a suit.
like what's going on, God? And then of course I don't think we have time now because we're almost an hour in, but like you hear things about like manifestation and things like that. It's like the world is limitless, God is limitless. It's already out there. All you have to do is
Speak
think.
it.
Yeah, just speak it, think it, imagine it, and bam, it's just like your energy is gonna match with an energy, and then like bam, it's just gonna.
I will be a millionaire.
Yeah, and it's just gonna, and then like people are like, well, it didn't happen because you didn't believe it, and it's like, what do you mean I didn't believe it? It's like I literally
said it in the mirror every day.
For real, and so I guess it's like you got all these different quote unquote answers or paths you can take or try and all that good jazz, but I guess more on my end, what I'm just asking is if again, and I think this would be a good way to get people to interact. If there's any way possible that somebody could like give me, it's not even the answer that I want to hear. It's just whatever the answer is, whatever's worked for you. To get you to a point of where you can do that and be, you can live that life and have that freedom.
Matter of fact,
and,
I don't want to hear from you unless you're younger than us. Because if you're older than us and you're debt free, that doesn't count.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If you've been at it for 67 years,
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're in the mid 30s, early 40s, or less, and you're just out here living your best life. And I think we have to put the parameters on it. Like you have to have kids. All right. Like you can't just be single.
Yeah, you can't be. Was it Dinkin? Dual income, no kids.
Yes.
That dink lifestyle.
Yeah, you can't be that, bro. Like
Yeah.
like you can't be that. You got to be married. You got to have some kids. You got to have some real life seasoning on you. Okay. Yeah, and then like if you're still doing your best, come talk to me. Come talk to us, man. Tell me what you're doing, and we'll get it figured out from there. But I just felt like maybe this was an episode today where people could relate, and go, man, I tell you what, okay, like I'm in that boat too. Yeah, I'm in that boat too, man. I don't do nothing stupid, and guess what? I'm still broke, And it's like, hey, guess what? Go read. It's like most people are like that is insane, man. That 95% of people, or I'm sorry, not 95% of people, but 36% of people spend 95% of their paycheck on basic necessities to live life. That's crazy.
Yep, that's crazy.
I don't know.
Hard.
Oh God, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Life's hard, and then you die.
Amen.
Life's hard, then you die. Then you.
I mean, that's what the Bible says, basically.
Yeah.
Life's hard, then you die.
Then you go to heaven and get put beside somebody that has the same size mansion that you do, and they didn't do nothing.
They didn't do nothing. They just died on their deathbed.
Yeah, they
said, Jesus, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
82 years old.
Yep, and they're sitting beside of you, and you literally sacrificed everything, and your mansion's the same size. I'm not salty.
I'm not salty.
I'm not salty. So, anyways, but You got anything before we go, man? I feel like it was pretty productive. My chest feels better. I
Your
don't know
chest
about
feels better,
yours.
yeah. Yeah, maybe that's we're just gonna turn this podcast into a therapy session with
There,
the camera. But
I
yeah,
like that. I think therapy sessions are good, man. If the whole people suck love them anyways don't work out, let's just rebrand it again, and
we'll
we'll
rebrand number
yeah,
two.
and we'll call it therapy sessions. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, it's like, what do y'all want to talk about? Like you can just throw it out there. Like, give us a topic,
Yeah,
a real life
with our
struggle, and we'll talk
yeah,
about it.
exactly. Hey, I'll tell yeah, shoot, just put something in the comments.
Yeah, right.
Send
Just
us a message. Can you guys talk about
yeah,
X
just
Y
talk
Z?
about whatever, and maybe we do struggle with it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
crazy part. Like maybe you're gonna hit on something that we struggle with personally, and it's like, yeah, we'll talk about that today from
Mm-hmm.
a whole nother level. So I feel good about that. But yeah, so again, we hope it's helped. We love you tremendously. We thank you so much, and until we see you again, we love you and be blessed.